morning. We should talk about the government roadmap. The government roadmap was obviously published on Friday, and there was a bit of a hoo-ha about the Taoiseach's performance on the Late Late Show. Ultimately, what it means for sport, I think, hasn't really been fully parsed in any kind of great detail just yet. I think there's still a significant concern about how a contact sport like GAA might actually see us restoring games, while at the same time social distancing is going to be in place.
Yeah, like there's obviously a sports section in the roadmap document, but there are a huge number of questions about how well thought out it's even been. Like, I know there are more important things, and maybe this was something that had to be published last Friday, and certain things like sports, they can get into the nitty gritty of that at a later date. But even just the distinction between Gaelic football being allowed to go ahead and rugby not being allowed to go ahead, and that going ahead a few weeks later in phase 5 as opposed to phase 4 is something that's certainly raised eyebrows. Like the idea of reopening pitches and then not allowing small training sessions for a while as well. You'd have similar questions about that too. Like there has to be some sort of hope given when it comes to activity and when it comes to trying to get back to some level of normality. But there are definitely a few things that you look at through the roadmap and you're like, right, I can't actually see this happening because of something else that's written in this document, or I'm not sure why this thing has been put in at this stage rather than at a later stage. And there's just a few little contradictions here and there, isn't there?
Yeah, like I actually don't mind contradictions, and if it's a roadmap, it's not like it's not Google Maps where you've got the specific individual instructions about turn left, walk 50 yards, turn left again. It's like, this is a roadmap and we're going to talk about it as we go along. Like, I get that people want certainty, and uncertainty in this situation is going to lead, and I'm talking generally about the economic recovery of the country, is going to lead to a lot of difficulty for people. Everybody wants to know about when their business is going to be okay again, particularly if you're a pub or a cafe or a restaurant owner, and they're having significant difficulties at the moment. So when it comes to this kind of stuff, like, let's have conversations about it. Nikki Brennan's in one of the papers today, recovered from COVID-19. Obviously, we send her our very best wishes. He's saying that he actually was quite positive about what he saw, because he understands that the government are trying their best and they're trying to give people hope. We can't all come out and beat the shit out of them with a big stick and go, there's a hole here and a hole here and a hole here and a hole here and a hole here. This is shambles. Let's not have anything to do with it. And that's a completely fair response from some people. And I understand the impetus behind that response. I just wonder if there's any way that we can actually come to some kind of healing consensus where we go, okay, well, this is going to be impossible. You are going to be able to have small-sided games that are non-contact for training for a number of weeks, and then we'll see what the infection rate is like. And if the infection rate stays really low, then we'll have more information. Bear in mind that every couple of weeks, more information is coming through, more people are getting tested, and the science of the facts that we exist in is being established. So 3 weeks' time, 4 weeks' time, 6 weeks' time, 8 weeks' time, 12 weeks' time, we're going to know far more than we know now. Saying now that, let's stop talking about this because the whole plan isn't finalised, seems to me a bit defeatist and a bit churlish.
Yeah, in fairness, I think certainly the grievances I would have with it are not about the here and the now. It's about, okay, what happens when we get to July 20th? And we're actually in this position where the roadmap has been properly followed. What do we do then? And it's kind of preempting the conversations that might be having at this point, rather than criticising the decision to actually publish this right here, right now. Because, as you say, this is an important step. It's almost like a situation of show your work. Like, let us see what the plan is here before actually coming up with the solution. And I think that has to be appreciated. Like, I think there is an undercurrent in all of this now that has changed a little bit over, well, not even in the last couple of weeks. I think to be honest with you, I think it's been something that's been bubbling up since St. Patrick's Day, really, where there is starting to be divisions emerging between the view on the government and the view of the official handling of this crisis. I think prior to that, and with Varadkar's speech on St. Patrick's Day, everything was largely positive, but there's definitely been a lot of division since then. And perhaps with that, you have varying degrees of opinion as well. And there will be a school of thought that says we need to absolutely stay in our houses and stay locked up until a vaccine is found. And then at the very other end of the spectrum, You'll have people who will say, we are going to have to step outside our door eventually. No matter what we do, an element of risk will be involved. And part of me is definitely agreeing with that element of things. Like, no matter what happens, the first step will be a risky thing to do, won't it? We won't be 100% safe doing anything when we start to do something. So it's just about controlling that risk, really, and having faith in the people who are making the decisions, that they have all the available information that they can possibly get, and that they're acting in good faith, which they obviously are.
Yeah, it's about accepting that risk too. At some point, what risk is an acceptable level of risk for for us to continue to have a society? Like, and it's not going to be the same at all. It's going to be very different, and we'll work out what that looks like. But it has to be something, and at some point we're going to all have to try and get back. And so having a roadmap where everybody has these conversations, I think you're exactly right. The show your work here is, let's have a conversation about this. What do you think is possible? Who are the brightest minds over there who are thinking about that from your perspective? And let's hear it. Like, so golf are thinking about what they can do, racing are thinking about what they can do, the GAA is thinking about what they can do, as opposed to all these organisations going, well, look, it's not up to us, it's actually up to the government and the various health authorities, and there are many of them, to give us ideas and recommendations. It's like, well, what could we possibly do? What does our sport look like in a world where social distancing exists, in a world where there are no supporters, in a world where there are a ban on gatherings over 250 or over 500? What can we achieve with that level? And that's where our crazy ideas about, like, slam dunk contests or the equivalent in GAA are like, yeah, I would, like, if that's all we have this year, let's have a festival of football, which is individual free taking and skills and something. Like, you know, like, that's obviously not where we want to get to. Our ambition is to have 15 on 15, full contact and all the rares and schmozzles that we want, that made the games great in the first place. But, like, show your work.
Yeah, and a situation where you are constantly concerned about being shot down, or being concerned about the fact, and it is a fact, that sport is not the most important thing right now, that is probably a fairly regressive attitude. Just because finding a vaccine, the load on the health service is clearly the most important thing in the world right now, doesn't mean that sport is totally unimportant, and doesn't mean that governing bodies are wasting their time by considering what you say, various ways of actually having some semblance of activity up and running before the end of the summer or before the end of the year. There will be positive outcomes from that. Getting something up and running, there is a huge value in that. It's not as big as finding a vaccine, but there is still value in it.
15 minutes past 8 here this morning. Sports bulletin for you. Waterford have become the latest League of Ireland club to temporarily lay off players and staff. The players will have to avail of the government's income support of €350 per week. Clubs will hold more talks with the FAI this week over potentially playing matches behind closed doors. The prospect of the German Bundesliga being handed the green light tomorrow to resume football behind closed doors has suffered a couple of setbacks. 10 positive tests for coronavirus emerged from the 1,724 conducted as a hygiene procedure across 36 clubs in the top two divisions. Then Hertha Berlin suspended Solomon Kalou from training and matches after he posted an ill-judged video on social media shaking hands and interrupting a medical test, breaching social distancing rules. The former Chelsea player has apologised for his actions. In Spain, La Liga clubs are returning to training this week with a view to completing their season by the end of June. I'm going to speak with Dermot Corrigan in about 20 minutes' time to get to the bottom of how they're going to do that and what their plans are. Meanwhile, the London Times are reporting that some matches may be shown free to air on YouTube if and when the Premier League returns, but it's unlikely any live matches will be carried on terrestrial television. In golf, Rory McIlroy will return to the course on Sunday, the 17th of May, for a socially distant exhibition skins game with Dustin Johnson, Ricky Fowler and Matthew Wolff. The televised event in Florida will adhere to strict guidelines around staying apart and testing, and all proceeds from the event will be donated to medical charities. So the whole world will be watching that one in 12 days' time. In horse racing, racing is free to resume behind closed doors in France next Monday. Horse Racing Ireland are awaiting clarification as to whether Irish fixtures can resume without crowds on the 18th of May, or if the sport will have to wait until the 29th of June. And the NFL have confirmed no American football games in London this year. They're maintaining a schedule of clubs hosting matches at their home stadium in the USA. That's what they're saying for now, and whether an NFL season is possible remains to be seen. But the matches slated for Wembley and Spurs are off. There was some suggestion that perhaps what they might do is move everybody to Orlando and have everybody play each other in some kind of weird Eden Project style existence And so, the San Francisco 49ers home game against the Seattle Seahawks would actually happen in Orlando, and they'd all stay in a Disney resort, and it's some kind of weird science fiction movie. Was it Running Man? Was that they were all running for their lives in that one. Right, here's what's coming up on the show this morning. We've got the sports pages, European football with Dermot Corrigan. Off the couch today is Oliver Dingley. And then off the bull is our look at the Michael Jordan documentary, which a lot of you have been enjoying. Right, time for us to get to the sports pages.
OTB AM.
So on offtheball.com, Hertha Berlin suspends Solomon Kalou for ill-judged coronavirus video. I should tell you as well about Off the Brawl. Andy Lee has been talking about Tyson Fury, and this is all available for you on the website as well, about Tyson Fury beating both Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua, but he said it's unlikely that those fights will go ahead with no crowds. And then no NFL games in London in 2020. Obviously, that is the situation there. Rory McIlroy will be back in the course, as we've just told you too. So that's offtheball.com for you this morning.
The Irish Examiner this morning leads with that story that you mentioned, Ger, about Nikki Brennan revealing his COVID-19 ordeal. I'm a lot better now, he says, but I went through a very rough period, and I'm very grateful and thankful that he came through it on the day. David Goff, meanwhile, says I wouldn't ref under current plan, which is a new angle on the situation regarding a potential return to play, saying he wouldn't, in the current state of play, referee a competitive game of football. Course of action, how Denmark could provide template for Irish golf's return, and hurling smart ball could detect illegal hand passes. So this is the GAA's new digital slitter on what that could bring to the game.
The Irish Independent this morning, top medic, no difference in risk between club and county. This is an interesting story. So Jim O'Donovan, the former Limerick footballer who acts as the GPA's medical advisor, as well as being a member of the GAA's medical and scientific committee, really impressive character, Jim O'Donovan, and he's saying he doesn't really think he doesn't understand any distinction being made between club and county. This is a direct quote. Now, there may be a difference in spectatorship, but not for the players, as long as social distancing is in place. He stated, adding that the weekend views of Dr. Killian de Gascon, a member of the NPHE, the National Public Health Emergency Team, would carry a lot of weight in the world of Irish sport because he is the sports physician at the Irish Institute of Sport. He said that he didn't think it would be feasible or ethical to test inter-county players on such a regular basis that would allow them to play at a championship as long as the virus is prevalent. The amount for one team, you're looking at 5,000 tests just to get everyone through. And there's also the false negatives that they're trying to work the testing out at this stage. We're months away from being conclusive about testing. For this year, it wouldn't be a consideration. So that whole notion of inter-county players being tested. And this got floated, a kite got flown, and then there was a backlash about it a couple of weeks back. And then there's the ethical question, you're taking tests away from the general population as well. So that seems unlikely there. And World Rugby restart plan could hit IRFU coffers bad. That is the whole playing games behind closed doors until a vaccine is in place. The Irish Union lost between 3.5 and 4 million from the postponement of the Six Nations match against Italy alone, and they missed out on prize money and TV revenue when the away trip to France fell victim to the crisis as well. The summer tour hasn't been called off, but will be in the coming days, according to Roy O'Connor here. And obviously due to host South Africa, Australia and Japan in the November series. So all those ideas about maybe a second Six Nations later on in the year behind closed doors is about the best they could hope for at this stage, it looks like.
Absolutely. Back page of the London Times this morning is YouTube may show Premier League games, which you've already mentioned as well. All 92 of the remaining games looking to be broadcast on some form of television or some form of platform, I should say, and it may not just be you're behind a paywall situation, so YouTube could be involved in that. You've got a photograph of Jadon Sancho there as well, back at training. Plan to ease players' fears, writes Matt Lawton, on the coronavirus, and bowlers could use wax on ball. So cricket's world governing body to discuss the use of external substances to shine the ball after an Australian company said that they were developing a wax that could replace saliva.
Yeah, no spits on the ball, just wax.
Yeah, just on that picture of Jadon Sancho, I wonder if we're going to, as players come back into focus again, are we going to see anybody who's ridiculously out of shape or people who've really enjoyed lockdown?
I hope so. I mean, that would be great.
It would be great.
Yeah.
Like
the rest of us.
Exactly. The COVID ton hopefully has been something that even professional athletes have indulged in. The
Irish Times this morning, the Jerry Thornley piece there is quality of that seminal Leinster-Munster semi-final still a cause for wonder. He's got a great stat in this piece. So he's obviously talking about the time that our boys beat your boys on. I know as a rugby man, this is the thing that galls you even more than the fact that Tyrone are the team of the noughties, but it's the time that Leinster handed out one hell of a beating to Munster in the 2009 Heineken Cup semi-final. And where's the stat gone? 9 of Ireland's 10 most capped players of all time were in the starting lineups. That's insane, isn't it?
It is remarkable, but you've also got to remember that that's 14 years after the dawn of professionalism. Six Nations had only started 9 years beforehand. That era is always going to be the one that has the most caps.
Well, no, it's not. The one that comes after it, they're going to get more caps.
They will, but
they
right
haven't.
Now,
that's the thing, they haven't. So, here we are, 11 years on, and that has yet to, they've all got to be replaced.
But there's a huge swathe of those players who were playing that day in 09 that went on to continue to play for another 5-6 years. O'Driscoll and O'Gara were still around for a while. I need to just get the...
I'll give you the list. Brian O'Driscoll, Ronan O'Gara, Paul O'Connell, John Hayes, Peter Stringer, Cian Healy, Jamie Heaslip, Rob Carney and Donnacha O'Callaghan. Yeah,
a lot of them went on for a few years after. It's obviously a sensational stat.
Do you think we're going to have 9 out of the top 10 ever again playing in a match? I don't think we will.
No, but that's because the
I understand they go on to win caps after that. I understand that. I get the point you're making here. That cow is far away. I understand. Do you think there will ever be far away cows again? Oh, that's the question I'm asking.
No, because there will be more cows further away and other cows closer.
Exactly.
And some miniature cows as well.
Right.
Because they're actually small.
I don't think we're ever going to... Ni be le hay down a reach.
What a game is what you're trying to say. And well done to everybody involved at Leinster for achieving that and for finally getting their house in order to actually beat Munster in a game of note in 2009.
Oh, look at you. Look at that bitter dig at the end there. 31 Irish internationals featured in the game. 13 have played for or would go on to play for the Lions. That's not bad as well.
Yeah, that's your stat. That's your... this is a game full of greatness statistic, I think. I'll move on to the Mirror if you're done with that.
No, I'm not. Sexton, okay. Dempsey, Toner and Sean O'Brien were on the bench that day. That's pretty impressive.
So Sean O'Brien makes the bench, doesn't make Neil Tracy's bench in the all-time professional 15. Well, I suppose his argument would be that he couldn't even make the starting team in that 09 game. That would be Neil Tracy's argument if he was
Rocky
on air with us now.
Who was man of the match in every game he played down that stretch, and one of the greatest displays of sport seen essentially since Michael Jordan in their first year that they won. That's the level that Rocky Elson was operating at for that 8 to 12 week period. And he couldn't get in ahead of him. Yeah, sure, because he was only a kid. And they also have got a feature on Bloodgate, by the way, which is worth digging out too. You just forget about how cheatingist those Harlequins were that nearly robbed us of that game. Imagine if the Quins had managed to somehow cheat their way through that. Anyway, that's worth digging out. If you want to feel some righteous anger about something as opposed to something somebody has said on Twitter about a picture of some kids having some fun at the weekend, then dig out the Irish Times this afternoon and you can go for that instead.
Unless, of course, you're not a Leinster rugby fan, in which case it's I'm not sure what you might actually find some hilarity.
Sorry, you think that as a sports fan, you think it's acceptable for Harlequins to introduce a blood capsule, spit the blood capsule out, have it look exactly like a schlock horror film from the 1970s, one of the worst blaxploitation flicks, wouldn't have done this crap, and then bully some poor doctor into slitting his bottom lip, which cost her massive professional difficulties. Okay, Owen, I'm on your side. Yeah, I see what you're doing.
That was is there going to be a sort of
no, too late. You can't take away out of this now.
Quiz-esque drama series released by ITV on Bloodgate? If they manage to do major fraud, they should be able to do Bloodgate. I think
I would watch that.
I'll move on to the Mirror, and it's a picture of Daniel Farke there. Any death is one too many. Norwich boss is saying, I want chance to work a little miracle with rock bottom side and try to stay up, but not at the risk of a life. Ravel Morrison, meanwhile, says, if only I could live my life over again. The football rebel reveals how he stupidly wasted his career. Flying solo retirement is closing in on former AFL star Colm. And then you've also got pictures of German footballers getting tested for COVID-19.
Back page of the Mail. This morning is Rory returns. McIlroy is back as golf restarts later on this month. And so that's Rory McIlroy and Dustin Johnson, who's going to play for charity in Florida on May the 17th. And hopefully they don't do the whole, bro handshake either. Premier League eye Wembley in Project Restart. So Project Restart, you know, they like to give their own military things names in England, and that always works out really well for them anyway. Project Restart is the clammy name they've come up with for this one, and they're talking about using Wembley as one of the venues that would be suitable because I don't know, they thought they weren't going to be able to use it, but now the police and the government have decided that they think they should use it. It's going to be a suitably biosecure venue.
Do you think that, like, they're calling this Project Restart and kind of militarizing everything, they're just going to rename like the 5 stadiums to like Gold, Juno, Omaha, and whatever the other 2 were, and actually completely ramp this up as the most extraordinary project since World War II? What
was Gold, Juno, Omaha? What was that?
The D-Day beaches.
Ah, okay. I haven't seen Dunkirk. Is that where you're getting this info from?
No, it's from the actual little nook and crannies that exist in my brain.
All right, well done.
That is the most patronising thing ever, and...
Oh, how is it patronising? I'm like, that's a nice little bit of information that you nearly knew well.
Well done. Thank you for coming up with this piece of information. It's okay. I will come up with further information.
Yes, I think that's exactly what they're going to do. And they'll rebrand them, and then they'll sell sponsorship of them to various people who can inspire us with their supporting of the heroic frontline footballers who are making money for everybody.
The back page of the Irish Daily Star this morning is David Goff and his comments as well. It's not worth the risk, he says. Top GAA refs return worries. Gordon Elliott says people face ruin. So he's talking about the urgency about getting racing back underway. And Daniel Fark there as well. His restart worries. And one positive test will be too many, one death will be too many, he says, when it comes to the Premier League's restart.
Yeah, so the Irish Sun, back page of the Irish Sun is Stream Team, agreement for free Prem matches online. Telly Giants deal to screen all 92 matches. That's BT Sport, Sky, Amazon and YouTube, all providing people with the opportunity to stay at home. And I used to be right. 4 letters all started out for Troy Deeney in that piece that he's done. Elliot called to arms saying that racing needs to get back sooner rather than later. And then the last one is Covidiot is callous. Is that what they're trying to say? German football was in uproar. Clueless. With Salomon Kalou last night after the former Chelsea star was suspended by Hertha Berlin for breaking coronavirus rules. I didn't realise that Salomon Kalou was still playing. Like, I would have said his heyday was in the noughties. Am I completely wrong in my decades with this?
He played in the 2012 Champions League final for Chelsea. So turn of the decade, yeah. Like it's certainly something that raised my eyebrows as well. That definitely that he existed at Hertha Berlin at the moment, but also that he's playing at such a high level still.
He's only 34.
Yeah, he was
Chelsea 06 to 2012. So yeah, I mean,
that was his last game. So it was at the Champions League final.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's Hertha Berlin legend. Has been there since 2014.
Right, Jesus. So 4 more years gets a testimonial. Who knows what happens?
What a great city to spend a decade in. It's like a rich young footballer.
Not bad. Well, as an athlete, it perhaps isn't the best place to spend. It would be a great place to retire to as a rich young ex-footballer.
The other thing, I hate the downfall pastiches at this stage. I've seen 6 million of them. They're all rubbish. I didn't watch the one that's going around at the moment. The first couple of times it got sent into my WhatsApp group, and then I was like, why are people still sending this? How does this have any life? And then I watched it, and it turned out it was absolutely amazing. Have you seen it?
Which one is this? No, you haven't seen a downfall meme in about 10 years.
Well, exactly. And if somebody put one into one of your WhatsApp groups now, would you actually watch it?
Not a chance.
No, not a chance. But then the weight of the deluge with which it came through yesterday, I was like, I better watch this. And I was snorting so loud in the back garden yesterday evening, just after dinner, that my kids huddled around me to try and see what it was, and eventually kind of were seeing it. And I was like, look, it's for grown-ups only. And my eldest was like, oh, there must be the F word in it. At which point my youngest started yelling the word fuck, fuck, fuck in the back garden, to the point where, like, society had broken down. But it turns out the downfall meme, there was a few references. There's an old pint on the front of it. It's about people missing the pub, essentially.
Right. That's I must check that. And, like, when you said that there was such a deluge with the meme being sent into your WhatsApp group, what does that mean?
Several different people sent it.
Oh, okay.
Who all commented about how good it was. I'm like, really? It can't be good. It's a downfall meme. How good can it be?
Well, I for one welcome the return of the downfall memes.
Do you know what? Do you know what? It was like a comfortable, warm, old pair of slippers that you go into, your expectations are low, and then you're like, these are brilliant. This is exactly what I wanted.
We're getting nostalgic for memes at this point. That is where society is at.
Well, I think that's...
Meme nostalgia.
Yeah, I mean, look...
we're in the future.
Any port in a storm.
Oh, like, we're at this port, and this storm is certainly existing in a place in a year that I never thought we'd all reach. But anyway, back page of The Guardian is Sir Steve Redgrave. My daughter's on the NHS frontline. As a parent, you worry. No fans until vaccine found. Six Nations and Lions could be forced behind closed doors. And EFL and Top Flight at odds over parachute payment. And then David Heitner inside How Will Football Change from Grassroots to the Premier League, a new series on the game after COVID-19.
So the Telegraph, which I'll just dig out for you here, is at the back of their business section this morning. And crowds barred until vaccine is found is the headline. That's the same piece, obviously, about rugby. Lengthy absence would plunge sport into crisis. Face masks, gloves and no contact for training return. Rugby union facing a devastating financial blow. Players could be pressured into refusing terms of Project Restart. This is football. Agents of Premier League players expect some clubs to launch campaigns to discourage them from returning under the terms of Project Restart. So this is slightly Machiavellian, where the clubs are getting the players to say no. The bottom six are opposed to using neutral venues for the remaining games, and there are fears they will apply pressure on squads to refuse to play. The Brighton CEO has gone on the record to say it would damage the integrity of the competition. I mean, I don't know how... I actually... Got to get those games played or just face automatic relegation. Plans to scrap relegation to be opposed by Sky and BT, obviously. So there's a lot to get through there, and essentially that's what we're talking about now. With do you want to do the Irish news before we get to Dermot Corrigan?
Yeah, just lastly, McAlinden says Division 1 drive will pave the way for Armagh. So it's Brian McAlinden who's saying the championship joy can follow on heels of promotion, and racing in France poised to resume on May the 11th.